We're looking back at this day in local history now. 57 years ago today, Mississippi was hit by one of the deadliest tornadoes in state history. It happened just before sunrise, and the worst of the damage was near Hazelhurst in Copiah County. The F4 storm carved a path across multiple counties, killing 32 people. Some 200 people were hurt. Hospitals were swamped with patients, many of whom were brought to Jackson for treatment. It took months to clean up and rebuild. A deadly tornado devastates Hazelhurst and the surrounding area on January 23rd, 1969. Your look at this day in history.